is you find the house and then you go to the lender and say, hey, I found a house, this one I want to buy. Please give me a mortgage. And they want to say, actually, you don't even qualify for a mortgage.
Hi guys, welcome back to another finance discussion. My name is Lindy and this is Tando, and together we are Skilled Finances. For those of you joining us for the first time, we are so glad to have you here with us. This is definitely the place to be if you want to learn skills to manage your money, with a focus on couples finances and also family finances. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel, click the notification bell so that you get notified anytime we put up a new video, and also make sure that you're following us on our socials at Skilled Finances.
Today, we are talking about 5 common mistakes that we see and we've done ourselves when it came to us as first-time buyers. These mistakes are easily done because buying a house is not something that you're taught up front about what you need to have in place, what you need to know, and all these other things. Then there's so much involved. So today we're going to talk about them and hopefully give you some pointers and tips as well of how you can avoid making the same mistakes. And if you have made those mistakes, hopefully have a strategy or some sort of way to come out of it and to solve the problem that you're in.
So I'm so glad that we're having this discussion today because we made mistakes when we were going through our first time buyer journey as well. So I hope the things that we share with you today, you'll find them super useful and will help you on your journey as well. So what's the first common mistake that people make in this journey?
The first common mistake that we've done ourselves and we've seen other people doing is finding a house first before you make sure you can get a mortgage in the first place.
Right.
Now, it's obvious, right? You want to buy a house, so you're going to be looking for your house, and then you're going to hope to find the house that you would like to buy, and then you start asking the questions about who can I get a mortgage from? But this is a painful mistake to make because what could happen is you find the house, and then you go to the lender and say, hey, I found a house, this one I want to buy. Please give me a mortgage. And they want to say, actually, you don't even qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah.
And this could be for various reasons. It could be that, maybe you don't earn enough money that you need to earn to be able to get the mortgage that you would like to get. Or maybe your credit score is, basically not good enough yet to be able to get a mortgage. Or there's so many different other reasons around that.
Yeah.
But this is why it's important to actually find out first if you can get a mortgage, how much that mortgage could be, and then look for your house.
And I guess it's important to also mention that it's a good idea for you to get a mortgage in principle first before you even start looking, because that will help you get some sort of guidance or know how much a lender is likely to lend you once you apply for your mortgage. But definitely don't go out looking before you know how much you can actually afford and how much you are likely to be given.
Yeah, and the good thing about mortgage in principle is free to get. It doesn't affect your credit score. Every lender will do it as well. And it's good to get a couple, so you just get a general feel of what you could get. And again, the great thing about it is that when you are actually then going to do your viewings and you want to make an offer on a property, you've already done all of that legwork, and all you need to show them is, hey, I can get a mortgage, here's proof. So yeah, definitely get a mortgage in principle in place. The second mistake that we see happening a lot is only speaking to one lender. Now, this is quite common if you go to the bank that you already have an account with, and then you ask them, I would like to get a mortgage, and then that's pretty much all who you ask. You don't speak to any other bank and any other lender. And it's a forgivable mistake because fundamentally, the way mortgages work is different with different banks.
Yeah.
So you may assume that all banks are the same, but they're actually not. So let's just say, for example, your base salary is £35,000 and you get an annual bonus of 15% and you get overtime here and there. One lender might say, yep, that's totally fine. Just as long as you can show us your P60 or your statements or whatever it is to show that you do get a bonus, or even a job contract to show that you get overtime and all these other things. Whereas another lender will actually say, well, we will only take what we see within the last 3 months. So if in the last 3 months you didn't get your bonus or you didn't get any overtime, they may not count that as part of your affordability. So you can clearly see in these two scenarios that how much each bank will even calculate as your salary is already quite different. And so this is why we are advocates of saying, actually, don't just speak to one lender because you're only getting one view out of hundreds of options. You may have a better option out there with another lender. You don't always have to speak to, the lender that you know or things like that. So this is why we are very big advocates of actually speaking to a mortgage advisor, because a mortgage advisor will look into all of these options on your behalf anyway, and then say to you, based on like all of these lenders, this is the one that's best
Yeah.
for your personal needs.
I remember when we were applying for a mortgage for this home, I was on a contract that was fixed term. And I remember that it was also contingent on me passing a qualification whether I would then become permanent. So one of the things that our mortgage advisor then did is she looked at different lenders, and some were a bit iffy about the fact that it was fixed term and they wanted to know like, well, we want someone who's permanent. But then you then had another lender that was actually like, well, it's not that deep. It's fine. As long as we can get a letter from her manager saying, well, if the job does come up and she passes a qualification, she'll definitely get it. And once they had that letter, they were happy to go. So I absolutely am an advocate for working with a mortgage advisor, because I probably wouldn't have known that personally. I would have just had someone say, yeah, we can't go with you, and just felt defeated and thought, yeah, that's it. But having the mortgage advisor really helped us, because she's then like, no, I'll speak to someone else and I'll speak to another person and see what can be done. So definitely speak to a mortgage advisor.
The third common mistake that we see happening is not being prepared for the process. Now, this particularly applies to things like documents and IDs and proof of address and all of these other things, because as you can imagine, when you're applying for a mortgage and when you're going through a sort of house buying process in general with your solicitors and everyone that's involved, you're going to need to be producing quite a lot of documents.
Yeah.
And this includes things like your identification documents, passport, driver license, naturalization certificate, whatever it may be. They may be looking at things like proof of address for the last 3 years or for the last 5 or 6 years. You never know. They may be looking at things like job contracts, P60s, pay slips, all of these other things, plus more things that they would ask you for. And so, you want to make sure that you are at the ready when they ask you for something, that you can give it to them almost immediately, because you don't want to be the one who causes any delays to you buying a house. So this might mean that you need to download all of your documents from your online portals. This could be your pay slips, your bills, your statements and everything, and kind of put it in one place that you will always know where to go when somebody's asking for something. Now, we didn't quite get this right, to be honest, and we will be on a frantic whenever we get an email or a letter saying we need this and we need this and we need this, because we're like, oh my God, we can't even remember where that is now. And we'll be spending like hours on end just looking for one piece of paper, and it was painful. So definitely don't make this mistake. Just make sure you know where things are, so that when you need to provide them as proof, you know exactly where they are.
Absolutely. And if it means getting like a physical folder where you put stuff, do that. Because I know sometimes we get paper bills, I think quarterly, but then a lot of our bills are online. And even that on paper bill that you get, make sure you scan it, have a copy of it somewhere, and make sure you save everything, save them in a folder, put them away. And like Tanda was saying, a lot of the times you will be asked for things last minute, like, oh, we need this by today, or we need this by the end of the week. And then you're starting to think, but if I'm to get a statement from a bank, it will take me, a physical one, that is, some banks, it will take you 3 to 5 working days. So as long as you keep everything safe, and nowadays we're lucky because we can save things online, even if it means saving stuff on Google Drive or having some sort of drive that you can just access and send things off, but be prepared. Because when you start the journey, I feel like you ask for a lot of things initially. So it's, can we have this? Can we have that? Can we have that? Can we have that? And then you go through a period where maybe they've got everything that they need for that moment and things just quieten down. And then you'll be there thinking, oh, thank God we're done now. No, you're not done, because you get to the end where they're then needing certain things. Like, okay, can we have this? Can we have that? So be prepared. Just be prepared. It can be a bit of a taxing journey, like a bit of a tiring one, but as long as you're prepared, it makes it a whole lot easier to go through the journey.
The fourth mistake that we see happening a lot is not asking enough questions.
Right.
We made this mistake ourselves, and it was honestly probably one of the most painful parts of this journey. Now, think about it. You're speaking to a lot of different people, estate agents, solicitors, the sales admin if you're buying a new build from a development site, and any other party involved when you're buying a house, like a mortgage broker, an insurance person, XYZ. The list goes on of the kinds of different conversations you're having. And there's so much information just thrown your way, left, right, and center. You need to know this. You need to learn that. You need to be able to provide this. You need to be able to do this. And the truth of the matter is, I'm not going to lie, half of the things, if not most of the things, you'll just be like, I didn't
Yeah,
get that.
over your head.
Didn't understand a single thing that you just said. But what we would do, we'd just nod our heads, smile, and be like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Get in the car. And then I'll be looking at Linda like, so what did they mean by this? And then she'd be looking at me like, I thought you understood because you were nodding your head. And then we would both like be none the wiser at that point because we would just be like, okay, no clue what they just
Yeah.
said. We need to send them an email. We need to call them again tomorrow to clarify a few things that we don't quite understand. So don't be afraid when you're having these conversations, all of these different people, to simply say to them, thank you for what you just said, but genuinely, I didn't quite get
Yeah.
that. Could you re-explain it to me, please? Because fundamentally, you are the buyer. So a lot of the responsibility is still on your heads. And you obviously need to make sure that you understand what you are what you're getting yourself into and what you're going through. You need to make sure that you understand that, yes, when I'm signing this document, I know exactly what it means, because what you don't want to do is to sign something or to agree to something
Yeah.
that you will later on regret,
Regret.
or like it will come back to haunt you because you agree to something that you didn't think you were agreeing to. And yeah, definitely make sure that you understand the things that you need to understand, because ultimately it is your name on the dotted line.
Absolutely. And I'd like to think that a lot of the solicitors or a lot of these people that are involved don't think your questions are silly.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as people be like, oh, but this is such a silly question. But no, it's a genuine question, because if you're thinking it, then you probably need an answer to it. And I found that like when we were going through our journey, we had a lot of questions, and when we asked them, we actually got answers to them. And sometimes maybe if it helps you to send an email, because when you get something in writing, you can always go back on it and be like, oh, okay, this is the answer. Whereas if you call and then you get an answer on the phone, you can be like, oh yeah, okay, cool, but then forget after the fact. So I was definitely an advocate for sending emails with my questions, and if I received a response and was still like, I still don't get it, I still wanted to follow up to that. So definitely ask your questions, because like Tanda said, once you've signed the contracts or once you've signed on the dotted line, that's you done.
The fifth common mistake that we see being made is underestimating the cost of
Yeah.
home ownership. Now, here's the thing. Buying a house is a beautiful thing. It is amazing if that is your goal, like it is ours, or was ours when at the time when we were saving. But before we bought a house, there was so much emphasis on like saving up for your
Yeah.
deposit, saving up for solicitors' fees, making sure you have money to pay for this, that, and the other, that there isn't enough conversation about the day you move into your
Yeah.
house, you still have other costs to pay for. Now, obviously, there's the obvious things like your bills and stuff, but what you might need to pay for is things like maybe you might need new blinds and new curtains because the house you've just moved into, they don't have that, or the previous owners took them with them to their new house. Or if you buy a new build, you might need new flooring, you might need new carpets, you might
Yeah.
need to turf your garden, whatever the case is. There's all of these things that you might still need to do once you have moved into your home, because you bought the house, the shell of the house, the roof and the four walls, but there's still things that need to be done in the property that you maybe didn't think about. Another thing is that you might actually have, say, an energy provider right now at your current place, but they don't supply your new place, and you need to maybe pay the exit fees for that, or you might need to pay fees to join a new company. There's so many different things that keep coming up that you just think, wow, like when I was renting, I didn't really need to think about these things.
Yeah.
Or when I was living with my parents, I didn't need to think about these things either. But now that I'm owning my house, it's that there's all of these different things being flown left, right, and
Yeah.
center. Some things make sense and some things will catch you off guard completely.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we actually did, or well, I actually did, was once I knew that we were buying on this estate that we're on, I actually went on Facebook and just checked if there was a group or something with people that live here. Unfortunately, there was. So the residents that were already living here had created a group where people could ask questions and find out things. And I was able to ask them like, oh, so how much you pay for council tax? Like, these are simple things that you might think, oh, I'll think about that when I've moved in. But by doing so, we're able to then add that onto our spreadsheet. Now we're the spreadsheet for new bills, like, so we're the spreadsheet that said, once we've moved into the house, this is how much we're likely to be paying, or this is definitely what we're going to be paying. And that really helped us to navigate some of these new costs that you're now faced with. So if you can do something like that, then do it. And if you're buying a pre-loved house, then why not ask the people that live in the house, like, so how much you pay for this? Roughly how much you pay for that? It will help you when you're now creating your budget, because you need to factor all these costs into your budget. And I guess the one thing that really hit us with the shock was the bins, because I just assumed, bins, everyone needs a bin, right? So you just assume that you get a bin automatically, but no, we had to pay for bins and we didn't realize it. So now you're thinking, oh my God, that's £30 per bin. And if you live in a place where you need 3 bins, for example, that's £90. It might not sound like a lot, but if you were not expecting to pay or fork out that £90, then it is a lot. So those are definitely some other things to think about.
Plus, it's a lot when you've just paid all of those thousands for a deposit, and you've just paid all of that money for solicitors' fees, and you just paid all of that money for all of these other things.
Yeah, then you have to pay for a bin.
Here we go, another bit of thing that I need to pay for, and it's just so frustrating when you're going through it. But don't let this put you off. We're sharing with you these mistakes so that you can avoid making them yourself, and also to make your journey a lot smoother, because this process, as we said, is beautiful if this is your goal, that you want to be a homeowner one day. You're aiming towards it right now, you're saving towards it. We're just showing you the mistakes that we've made and the mistakes that we see being done, just so that you can have a much better experience. Now, one thing that we'd love to know is, how is your journey going right now? Are you saving for a house? Are you still in the early stages of looking and you still need to do an agreement in principle to see how much of a mortgage you could get? Or have you already found your place? You're pretty much going through the journey of signing the contracts and waiting for you to get the keys. Where are you currently on this journey? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And one thing that we'd love to know as well is, what is the number one tip that you would add to what we've spoken about today? Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to see you soon.